framework of our democracy is not set that way. We set a very dangerous precedent if we continue this path.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you, Mr. Nyamuamo. And just an understanding in terms of the specificity, you have raised a very important and a pertinent question as to garbage in the city.
Yes.
Do you understand Nairobi County?
Yes, I do. I played in this city. I live in this city.
In terms of the tons of garbage, how much does the city generate?
First of all, Nairobi doesn't even have a system to collect the garbage. We have just young little boys that we use and we pay them very little money to collect garbage. Nairobi needs to set up a garbage collection system that starts from collecting garbage from the homes all the way to how the garbage is disposed. We don't have that system. We need to set that system up so that we can have a systematic way of collecting garbage in the county. Once that system is in place, then you'll not see garbage in the city. But we cannot have self-help groups, young boys collecting garbage in an unsanitary manner, and we call that garbage collection. We need to have a system set in place with the county government, and that's what I'll do when I become governor.
Mr. Herman Growell, Nairobi County generates about 2,500 tons of garbage in a day. Out of this, only 1,800 is collected and transported. About 700 tons cannot be accounted for, and you and I can guess where that ends up. If elected governor, how do you seek to fix this problem?
Okay. So this mostly comes to how are we managing resources. So resources would be goods and even waste. So when we talk of goods, are we managing a system that allows for the collection and recycling of the waste? Secondly, we look at the waste generated. How is it ending up in the dump sites, for example? Is all of it ended up in the dump sites? So it's simply about now tracking how much garbage generated from certain areas, how much needs to be handled, what is the success rate of the systems we have put in place. Because when I was reflecting on garbage, it was one of the major aspects of my manifesto, because to work in any place, whether it's an office or in a county, you shouldn't have garbage everywhere, you shouldn't have sewages open. Because I've also walked through several slums in Nairobi, and I don't understand how we have the funding for something simple such as manual labor, which is minimum wage, which is all that's required to collect garbage in certain areas, and then now move it to a recycling plant.
Thank you so much.
That's why I spoke on how we need to partner. So even with recycling plants, we can export shredded plastic to other countries.
Mr. Growell. Your time is up.
Okay. Right. Thanks.
Ms. Nancy Wambui Mwadime, the issue you have talked about is very important. What's your easy, immediate fix to garbage problem in the city?
About the garbage issue, one thing I want to say that people have complained that at times leaders give manifesto and they're not able to fulfill what they have said. Especially the issue of the garbage, I would say this is something I need to get to that office and sit with the other parties and we see the way forward on how to handle the issue, because it's a big problem at hand.
Which is the way forward?
As I've said, there are some issues one would need to get to that office and sit and look all around and see how to solve. And the garbage is one of the issue one would need to go and get to the office and sit with the bodies related and see the way forward.
And how does that way forward formula look like? Because the people of Nairobi watching this debate want clarity to the questions that we are asking you. What's the approach? How?
I start by saying that we need first to start by educating our people. Because the issue of garbage starts by dropping it everywhere. So we need first to have the feeling that you cannot go dropping a peel of a banana everywhere.
Your time is up, Ms. Mwadime, but there's 30 seconds for some clarity on something you said. You want to get to that house, sit down with some people to get solutions. The people of Nairobi want somebody, a leader who already has solutions. What level of assurance can you give residents who are watching you tonight that you have the solutions to the problems that they are facing in Kenya's capital?
I have solutions for many issues facing the Nairobians.
Is garbage one of them?
Garbage is one of them.
So how do you sort to fix the challenges we are facing with the garbage issue in the city?
We can go to the old, now we are calling it county government. Years back, we called it city council. By then, we had lorries, which used to go round collecting the garbage. And there was a planned area where the garbage used to be taken, and from there it was managed. So what I'm trying to say is that we can get back to the Nairobi, which was there some years back, and the county government provide those services to the citizen, correcting the garbage and knowing where the garbage should go and knowing how the garbage will be managed.
Thank you. Okay. Esther Waringa, 30% of garbage in the city is disposed of by a private company. This is a lion's share, and it's clearly a private affair. Yet the county is supposed to be offering services to the people. It's public dominated. Turn this around.
You see, garbage looked in a more positive way, it's money generating. If you look at it that way, then you'll have a solution on how you can tap from garbage collection into the recycling and generate some money. So what I would really do is to have the county government deal with the garbage disposals, where the garbage installation, collection bins are placed in every estate, in every slum area, on the streets, and then that garbage collection is done by the city government, and we build some collection dumping sites in ward level, and then after that we are able to partner with companies that do recycling. And then we'll ask them that since we have brought the garbage to you, to the dumping site, then we create employment. We ask them to employ people who will sort that garbage out. And then after that, whatever profit they make,
your time is up, Ms.
then it's able to, we ask them to
your
give us a
time
30%.
is up,
Your time is up, but
yes.
let me add you 30 seconds to be clear on that.
Yes.
When you say that you will procure companies, do you appreciate the importance of public participation under the current constitution? And what will be the way of bringing those companies on board since they are private?
We have recycling companies. If we partner with them, and those are the things that they need, the recycling, the garbage stuff that they can recycle. So I find it's easier because when you partner with them, you have made it easier. You've brought the garbage to a dumping site that is available for them to be able to collect it. That's how I would look at it.
Okay.
Yes.
And your time is up. Thank you.
All right, we want to move to the next section, but before we do, Mr. Nyamwamu, earlier you had said that you play in this city, you've lived in this city. I just want to seek a clarification looking at what you've done and who you are. You left the country in 2001?
Yes.
To go to the United States?
Yes.
You're a certified nurse in the United States?
Yes.
You've attained 3 of your major degrees from abroad?
Yes, I did.
Earlier, in early basic education, you studied in a county outside Nairobi, Siaya.
Yes.
How are you assuring the residents of Nairobi that you're part and parcel of them, you understand their issues, you have solutions, you know what they're going through, you're going to fix it if they elect you governor?
Well, I've been
You have
articulating
90 seconds.
I've been articulating these issues. I've given a way forward in terms of garbage collection. I've given a way forward in terms of making Nairobi business friendly. I think the issue you're asking, you've been outside the country, how are you going to relate with Nairobians? And my answer is this: I'm still a Kenyan, and problems that face the cities are universal. If I'm correct, our president learned abroad, incoming president Raila Odinga learned abroad. A lot of people who are in leadership in this country learned abroad, but they still actively participating in leadership roles in this country. So living abroad does not disqualify you from understanding and articulating the issues or solving problems. One of the things that has been put here that's successful is this expressway. This is a foreign concept that was borrowed from abroad, but it's here and it's working. So going abroad does not stop me.
Thank you so much. Thank you for
from
that
articulating the
clarification.
issues.
Your time is up. Now let's move to the next section of this conversation that touches on the living and working conditions of residents of Nairobi. The key issue has been housing. And in this city, 9.3% of Nairobians, only 9.3% own homes. The others are renting units in different places. And also, it is a city that, according to statistics by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, 80% of the people who live in informal settlements across the country live in Nairobi. There's a huge housing crisis in this capital. Esther, I'll begin with you. If elected governor, how will you seek the housing crisis in Kenya's capital?
Well, I would start with the housing crisis with the most affected areas, like the slum areas, and I would partner with the landlords who will sit down with the consultation and find out how we can be able to improve what is already there. For example, if I take Kibera slums, those are settlements where there are landlords who are owning those small houses. But if I came in as a governor and had a partnership with them where we improve the housing, we improve the condition that people live in there, and I'll come with support, like give money so that we can improve, and yet the people staying there will not pay a higher cost, but they'll still remain paying that because I've already chipped in some money to improve their living conditions. That's how I would tackle it. Then I would partner with the investors to build affordable housing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Your time is up.
Allow me, Esther, to add you 30 seconds, because you have mentioned Kibera, which is a constituency in Nairobi County. And as per the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics in 2019 census, this is a region or part of Nairobi which has a population density of 712 times what ought to have been 68,000 people per square kilometer. That's a homework, isn't it? That's a steep slope for you. How will you operationalize decongestion of informal settlements, which account for 80% of Nairobi's population, and Kibera being an example that you have fronted?
Well, I wouldn't look at moving these people. I know there is cheap housing, affordable housing that was built for them, high-rise being one of them, but they never moved in there. They still came back to their own settlement. So what I would look at is improving, not really moving them away, because they are used to that place, they are comfortable in that place, but how best can I improve their living standard?
And your time is up.
That's what I would focus on.
Asante, thank you. Haman,
yes.
I come to you. Housing is a national government function, and therefore, again, another cooperation is needed between the county government and the national government. We already are falling short of the targeted 250,000 household units to be delivered. We are doing it at 50,000 at the moment. This rate needs to be speeded up by 3 times the current number. What's your cooperation with the national government if elected governor, and how will you address the problem of housing congestion in the city?
Okay. So the question is based on supply being too low and demand being too high. Every businessman knows that this is a huge opportunity, right? So if you look at the structure of the country, you've got your upper class, middle class, and lower income groups. And each needs a different solution for housing, because you wouldn't expect someone that's earning over 2 million shillings per month to be provided with the same solution as a lower class person. So what we do have is an opportunity for us to now use technology to even like 3D print cheap housing for people living in slums and have a payment structured plan where they can pay back. Because if you study the banking history of Kenya, you see that it's becoming difficult for people to now mortgage housing. So that's something we should reflect on. Further, for the middle class and upper class, we must encourage investment because, again, this is an opportunity. If I give you a loan to build apartments, I now have the opportunity to earn from interest, and we've succeeded in building apartments for
Your
people
time is
in
up,
Nairobi.
but I add you 30 seconds. Proceed.
Okay. And what I've also studied is, so aside from the whole aspect of this being a business opportunity for us in terms of providing housing to low income, middle income, and upper class people for housing, we also need to reflect on how there are a lot of unemployed people in Nairobi. So I've studied all the manifestos for different candidates, and someone like Wajakoya has spoken of making Isiolo the capital of Kenya. I understood the logic, but this is also something that can be applied here. Because there's too much demand in Nairobi, what if we set up organizations in other counties where people can earn and also find housing? So I think that's something we should also encourage to decongest Nairobi.
Thank you so much, Mr. Grawal. Now we come to you, Mr. Nyamoamu. How do you seek to fix the housing crisis in the capital under your administration, if elected?
So for me, I think it's many factors, but the biggest factor is the economic factor. A lot of people opt to go to the informal sectors because they can't afford whatever is available. For example, in Kileleshwa, there's a lot of apartment units that are available for rent, but they are unaffordable because people don't have the disposable income to go and rent those apartments. So my solution would be, one, to encourage investors to invest in these areas or areas proximity to the slum areas, so that these people can get places they can go to and work. That's number one. So instead of having an industrial area or industries in industrial area, let's have industries in every constituency, so that people from Kibra they don't have to walk to industrial area, they can go find jobs nearby. So let's create investment in those areas. Two,
your time is up, Kenneth, but proceed, 30 seconds.
Okay, two, let's decentralize Nairobi. Let's get other functions in other areas. The reason why people come here is they come to look for employment here. So let's decentralize other key functions from Nairobi to other areas. We've started doing that. Let's do more of that so that, you don't have to go live to Nairobi to earn a living. You can go to Mombasa, Kisumu, wherever, where even the cost of living is low, and it will bring down the cost of living in Nairobi because a lot of people will move out of Nairobi.
Thank you.
That's how I look at it.
Thank you so much. I come to you, Nancy Wamboi Mwadime of the Usawa kwa Wote party. What's your understanding of the laws that regard planning in the city, and how would you differentiate between residential and commercial areas for purposes of planning and to answer the question of housing?
Before I go to planning,
You can just move closer
Yes,
to
your microphone, yes.
before I go to planning, I would want to deal with the housing issue, which is an issue which we need to handle. On the issue of housing, some years back, we used to have city council houses, or county government is supposed to be developing homes and give to the Nairobi people. So I would want to go back to that and get the county department on the housing to develop some houses. Number two, I would want to network with real estate developers. I am in real estate industry, and I have seen the gap. We have the developers who are willing to develop the homes, and we also have the Nairobi people, especially who have on the SACCOs and pension. They want homes, but there is a gap in between because the developers, the SACCO managers, they tell developer they want a ready home, yet they have money lying in the bank.
Your time is up, but 30 seconds. When you talk about the real estate industry where you are a subscriber to, do you have an understanding of the complaints lodged in a court of law against you by your employers of mistreatment and lack of pay?
I do have, because when you are a developer and the economy is affected, our work is affected. And most of the complaints we have is that we are not finishing the houses. But the problem is not really the developer 100%. It goes all the way to the economy. Because when we don't have an atmosphere for the business, as a developer, you start your development, and because of the atmosphere, you are not able to receive the buyers for the homes. and you are not able to complete your development. But in this case, what I'm trying to say is that we can have a network between a developer and a SACCO, whereby the developer will develop homes for a particular SACCO using the same fund lying in the bank. And in this case, the Nairobi citizen will pay only 10 to 15,000 to own a house within 10 to 25
your
years.
Time is up. Thank you. And at this point, we also extended an opportunity to the residents of Nairobi to get a chance to ask questions. And we just want to get some of them so that our candidates can be able to respond.
My name is Masi Masila Achola, an executive program leader with the Maxwell Leadership Team and also serving in the Kenya Daima Steering Committee. My question to the Nairobi gubernatorial candidates is, if elected to office, could you share with the residents of Nairobi what can we expect from you in your first 100 days in office?
Nairobi County collects billions in taxes. What mechanism are they going to put in place to ensure that Nairobi County's billions do not end up in the pockets of a few corrupt leaders?
Nairobi's public transit system is a mess. How will your administration fix the issue of commuting through town and the traffic jams we experience on our roads daily?
Majina ni Nicholas Paul. Swali langu kwa waheshimiwa wanaokusudia kuwa gavana wa Nairobi. Ni mpango ipi mlioweka kuhakikisha ya kwamba wafanyabiashara wadogo wadogo hawadhulumiwi na mabwenyenye humu mjini?
My name is Samuel Matara. I work and stay in Nairobi. And I have a question to all the Nairobi gubernatorial aspirants. Now, if you walk along the streets of Nairobi, the marketplaces of Nairobi, and also the residential places, you will encounter mounds of garbage strewn all over. And this is despite the previous governors promising that they will make sure that this city becomes clean. How are you going to ensure that this city becomes clean like the way it used to be?
Question number 1. NMS inatoa stage from CBD inapeleka outside CBD, and also they are banning border from CBD. Is it right on that way?
And those are the residents of Nairobi who sampled messages that we did play here, and we did engage them because they are very key and important since they hold the key to City Hall and in exercising Article 1 of the Constitution, since the sovereignty of power lies with them as enshrined and envisioned in Article 1 of the Constitution 2010. I begin with you, Esther Waringa. Vast array of topics from taxes, corruption, malfeasance, small businesses and the friendly environment they want, to planning. What's your response to what some of the sampled messages here had conveyed?
First of all, if I heard you well, you've talked about corruption. And I did mention that I'll set systems where in employment and people are vetted, because leadership is key. If you employ people who are corrupted, then they'll mess the system. The other thing is closing the gap of any cartels that takes place. If I heard you well, again, you've talked about if you can say
small businesses?
Sorry?
Small businesses and friendly environment that they are seeking.
Yeah, small businesses are very critical because they have a high percentage of employment. I would look at boosting them after COVID, post-COVID. The businesses were affected. So I would form SACCOs that I'll boost money in those SACCOs, and then they would get loans that they pay with minimum interest.
And your time is up.
They build up.
Coming to you, Mr. Grawal Singh, we had tackled the issue of corruption, but I want you to also speak to some issues that have been raised there. What will you do within your first 100 days? And also, what is your plan to improve the welfare and status of those who are running small and medium enterprises within the capital?
Okay. So I think the whole question of what are you going to do in your first 100 days is a very generic question. As a governor, it's not about just picking one goal and focusing on it. I feel it should be an expansive goal, and it's all outlined in my manifesto. What I want to do primarily in my first 100 days, if I must state in my first 100 days, is to clean up Nairobi. Because a lot of people in Nairobi are not happy, whether it's in terms of operation or the cleanliness. It does have an impact on the psychology of a lot of people. So I feel cleaning the area in Nairobi is something of paramount importance in my first 100 days. Moving on to SMEs. My running mate is named Michael Kimwele. He works for KCB Bank. He's in the department for SME loans. So there's actually a structured plan we have on how to help SMEs access funding. Because if you look at the history of a lot of countries, how do you stop, for example, the son of an askari being an askari? How do you help the son of a mechanic finally be able to buy a car? It's through providing them with funding.
Mr. Grewal, but I add you 30 seconds to proceed.
Okay, thank you. It's through providing people with funding to allow them to break out of their environment. If, for example, I've never received over 30,000 in my whole life, how am I going to escape the poverty cycle? It's through having a structured plan, and even we have a system where we'll guide a lot of people in Nairobi how to start a business, how to run a business, and if your plan makes sense, we'll help you get funding for your project. And we also have some sort of mentoring system. So as you're operating, as you're growing your business, you'll still be monitored, supervised, and we work as sort of a team, as a family, so we can help each and every person in Nairobi grow. Thank you.
All right, the same set of questions will apply to you, Ms. Nancy Mwadime. Within 100 days, in case you're elected, what will you prioritize? And also, as you do that, you also talk on what you plan to do to improve the status and welfare of those running small businesses within Nairobi. You have 1 minute.
So the first 100 days, I'll deal with the employment. We have kept on talking about employment on youth. But around this time, we have unemployment, even from age gap between 30 and 40 and even 50. And with this group, I would provide training, free training, and when they are done with the training, we provide them with tools. For example, if you are trained as a mechanic, we release you with tools for being a mechanic. If you train as a trailer, we release you with a trailing machine. For the youth, I would encourage a good number of the youth to further their studies. When they go, the county government under my management will pay their school fees abroad. When they go out there, they'll get visa to further their education. And we'll take care of the fees and accommodation. Okay. But while they are there, they'll be able to work. And
your time is up, but why abroad? Why not within the borders of this country? Don't we have what it takes to do that?
I was to come to that, but I'm saying I'll encourage a number, because when I encourage a number of them, I'll kill two birds. One, they'll get employment. The second, they'll be able to work for a few hours. And those who are wise, they'll work and send money back home and they support their parent. And for the local youth, I'll also get them to workshop and training, and I'll do the same as for the age gap between 30 and 40. I'll give them tools to start small businesses.
Okay, Ms. Nancy Mwadime, your time is up of the Usawa-kwa-Wote Party. Mr. Kenneth Nyamwamu, how would you respond to the sample questions from the people of Nairobi County?
So first things first, let's make Nairobi business friendly. Let's invite international investors. Let's promote local investors. Let's not criminalize people who are making a living. If we bring international investors and have them in every constituency, people will have jobs, and that will improve our lives of living. Let's reduce our business licenses by 50%, so that whatever businesses we have, they are not, the cost of doing business is a little lower, and they are able to do business effectively in Nairobi. And the other thing is, especially the issue of garbage, let's set up a garbage collection system where we have days where and let the city council buy trucks. If they are not able to buy trucks, let them lease those trucks, let them lease from companies, partner with companies to bring trucks to collect, to have collection days, and take them to collection centers.
Your time is up, Mr. Nyamwamu.
Can I have a little bit so I finish?
Proceed. 30 seconds added.
Sorry.
Granted.
So let's get these people who are, these young boys who are picking up garbage. Let's train them, empower them, show them the sanitary way to collect garbage, so that when the system is there, these boys can be incorporated in the county, and then the garbage can be taken to the collection centers. The other thing is when I'm governor, I'm going to fight with KEMSA. KEMSA is diverting medication from county hospitals.
Your time is up, Mr. Kenneth Nyamwamu. That is another government agency, which is national. We appreciate is the source point of pharmaceuticals to the counties, and that is a topic we can discuss another day.
All right, so there's a question that was also asked. I deliberately left it because this is what actually ushers us into the next section. And we're going to be looking into your vision for the transport sector in Nairobi County. One of the residents of Nairobi County is concerned, actually, about the traffic jams that we witness each and every day if you live in the capital. Esther, what is your plan to end the perennial traffic jam menace, if elected?
Thank you so much. About transport, I would say that if we have proper and efficient transport system that will work, it's good. If I'm elected, I would think of having to refurbish trains, have rails, train bringing people to town. That would decongest the traffic. I'd also have to have a consultation with the matatu people and see how best we can have the public transport organized. I would also look at having designated lanes on the road where any buses or a car that has more than 3 people can use that lane so that it's more faster to have them.
Your time is up, but are those, I'll add you 30 seconds. Are those not efforts that have been tried before? We've seen that in the capital already. Is there anything that you offer as an alternative for the residents of Nairobi?
If you can ask the question again.
I just want to inform you that those are things that the previous administrations have tried, using trains and also consultations with those who are operating in the public service sector. And of course, you know, is there something that you plan to do that will be different to fix the perennial problem of traffic jams?
It's to encourage people to do carpooling if they're going the same direction. And if we had institutions like schools that are properly equipped and people take their kids to school where they stay, it's much better than crossing across to take a child to Nairobi Primary School when they live in Dadora. So I would reinforce that method of having the schools at their ward levels so that we can ease the congestion of traffic.
Your time is up. Esther Waringa, Independent Party. Haman Grewal, what's your approach to traffic snarl-up and the menace in the city?
Okay. So transport is a fairly complex issue. I'll try to speak on it in 1 minute, but generally it cannot be resolved in this much time. Once again, we break it down. We have 3 classes of people. We have the lower, middle, and upper class individuals, and each desire a different level of transport solutions. What often happens is, through my research, is I found when international guests come to Nairobi, how many of them are comfortable using a system such as matatus? How many of them understand how matatus work? It's not a large percentage. So I reflected on it. I came up with 3 solutions. I hope I have the time to touch on them. Number 1. The solution to traffic is not creating more roads. Because if we look at the history of Kenya, look at Thika Highway, for example, that was the more road solution. What we need is, because of the expanding population in Nairobi, we need to have structured mass transport systems that are of quality, that would fairly reduce transport. If I had a solution for me to come from Westlands to Karen, for example, that's quality public transport, I would use that.
Your time is up, but I add you 30 seconds. Proceed.
All right. I would use that. So we need to have quality mass transport. Something like bringing in double-decker buses into Nairobi would reduce the cost of transport even for the government, for individuals, and achieve the same thing. We can digitize the operation of matatus. Someone with a smartphone, the driver, I can track his phone. And as a user, I can see how far my matatu is and how long it will take. I link my account with that matatu, and then we can also have promotions for students. And lastly, we can also have a digital carpooling system where if I have a saloon car, for example, other people coming to Karen can simply share the cost of transport with me. And now this touches on the different classes we have, that's lower, middle, and upper class.
Your time's up.
All right, we move to you, Nancy Mwadime. Just your strategy of solving the traffic jams in Nairobi County.
Before I would think of solving the issue of the transport, I would start by having everyone in Nairobi be able to access the transport, especially the people with special need. I would want us to introduce buses which are accessible to the person with a wheelchair. He can just driving and lifted to the bus and stay in the wheelchair, and when he get to his destination, just is walk out, so that we can also protect their dignity. About the issue of the traffic jam, this is something which has always been discussed again and again. And at times I look at it, the people who discuss are not even the people who are using public transport. Because when you put the bus stage so far from town, then we expect people to walk that distance. I find that very unfair. For me, I would say, I would want to come up with a solution before I get the stage out.
Okay.
But,
your
but
time
before
is
I
up.
get to that...
Your time is up. Okay, I add you 30 seconds, but again, clarity.
So before I get to the solution, I would advise that we have buses whereby they come across. For example, if the buses are coming from Global, they come closing over to the other side. We have designated road whereby the vehicles will come and close to the other side without saying that the bus stop or the stage will be at Global, and then people have to walk all the way to town.
All right, and just to come to you, Mr. Nyamwamu, as well on the same issue of the perennial traffic jams in this country's capital, what is your solution?
So first, let's expand the use of BRTs in our city, number one. Number two, let's introduce shifts, working shifts. Let people not come at the same time and leave at the same time. Services that don't need people to come to start work at 8, they can have shifts from maybe 11 to, I don't know, add 8 hours to that. But the concept is to have people come to work at different shifts. In essence, there was something that was talked about in 2013 about introducing Nairobi into a 24-hour economy. Let's introduce that 24-hour economy where we can have shifts. Some people come at this time, or that time. Another thing we can do about congestion is to have car holidays, days where, we don't allow private cars or cars of particular whatever to come into the city. Let everybody use the BRTs or whatever public transportation is available to come to the city.
Thank you.
That will help with decongestion.
Your time is up. And I start with Esther Waring on podium number 1. Your closing remarks, 30 seconds, and kindly adhere to the time.
I would say that the national government funds distribution to be considered because the county government has more of the functions, yet not enough money to fulfill those functions. And the other thing is that I would say is that I've lost my mind.
Okay, and your time is up.
So that is all I would say, that in partnership with the national government and the county government would really bring a smooth running of this city.
Your time is up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Haman Grawa?
Okay. Closing remarks are normally a lot longer, but I'll try 30 seconds. So I'm the Safina candidate for Nairobi governor. I'm 25 years old, and my candidature came as a shock to many. but I feel I've outlined the qualities I have that allowed me to be backed by Jimmy Richard Wanjigi and Paul Mwite for this position. I've come up with solutions for free healthcare, free education, and jobs for people across Kenya. And you can read my manifesto on harman47.com. Through strategy, this was also my manifesto launch that cost me 0 shillings, again showcasing how I can use little resources and accomplish a lot of things.
Your time is up.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Ms. Nancy Wamboi Mwadime, 30 seconds.
My closing remarks, I would want to speak to the voters and tell them that if they vote for Nancy Wamboi, they will be voting for a leader who have them at heart. And I also want to advise them that it is time they choose or they select a leader who is a leader not because he's coming from big parties, not because he's giving them money, but a leader who can go and work for the people. The leader who will go and know that he has been sent there and be a leader for Wananchi.
Your time is up. Mr. Nyamwamu.
I want Nairobi voters to know there is a choice. And the choice is not necessarily to either choose between either Sakaja or Rigathi. There are other candidates. There have been issues where, the media has kind of contributed to the issue of us not getting our word out there. But now that we are here, it's our platform to say, Nairobi, Sakaja, Rigathi quit on you, do not be forced to choose him. Sakaja was there 5 years ago. For 5 years, didn't do anything, gave up the functions. Please, there are other choices here with manifestos.
Your time's up.
And people who are willing to work.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nyamwamu. And just to point out, this platform has been organized by a majority of media houses across the country, and you're being watched on several television stations and being heard on radio stations. So we really do appreciate you creating time for us tonight. And of course, that is how we wrap this debate. And now, ladies and gentlemen in the audience, our viewers at home, we end it here for now. Our appreciation to the candidates and their respective campaigns for honoring voters with this duty to debate.
And we thank you for watching. Our second debate involves Senator Johnson Sakaja of the United Democratic Alliance Party and Polycarp Igathe of the ruling Jubilee Party and the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition political party, and comes to you live at exactly 8 p.m. My name is Ayub Abdikadir Abdi.
Check it. Let's talk about banking. Or let's talk about dreams and goals. Your dreams, your goals.
If you're like Louise, you value doing biz with ease. Or maybe you're like Dan, a family man with a plan. At Diamond Trust Bank, it starts with one dream, one goal, one deposit, and one transaction. Pamoja, let's make it happen. So don't just bank with us, bank on us.
Enroll at Catholic University of Eastern Africa.